Hello and welcome to Sketch Together. My name is Pablo Stanley, and today we're going to learn how to create a button system using nested symbols on Sketch. This is part of a design crash course on creating your own UI framework using Sketch. So for today, we're going to need to download the resources. There are links down there on the description. Also, you need the latest version of Sketch to be installed on your computer. And also, you need the plugin called Auto Layout. It's a pretty cool plugin. And also, very important, we need to be ready to learn. Okay, let's get to it. Today, we're going to be designing a button system. But before that, we need to understand the power of nested symbols in Sketch. Let me show you first what we're going to do. Let me open here. All these files are there in the description, so you can download them. So for example, here we have a system of different buttons. And all of these are pretty much the same button, just with different states. And that's something that you can do when you use nested symbols, which is great. So for example, here, this is one button, and then it has all these overrides, and then you can use nested symbols as overrides. So for example, this is a very complex system of buttons that has different shapes and different states and icons and stuff. But then you can do something a little bit more simpler, whereas like probably they're not a lot of different shapes on your buttons. They're all square. So then you can simplify that. And then you can go all the way to super simple, where they're all just one color, primary color, and one secondary color. There are no different sizes. They're all the same size. We're going to learn how to create this one, the one in the middle. They're not too complex, but not too simple. But the files for these three systems, you can download them. There's a link for all of those. So before we get into this, we have to understand how nested symbols work. So let me go over here. I have a practice just to go over quick about it. So how do you create a nested symbol inside a symbol? It's pretty simple. You just put a symbol inside another symbol, or you just select two symbols and then create a new symbol, or just one symbol and then create another symbol on top of it, and then you have a symbol that has a symbol inside. And then the cool thing about it is that those symbols, you can override them later. Rule number one: there's no limit to how deep you can nest your symbols. You can go as deep as you want. It's a symbol inside the symbol, and then you get into inception level symbol. When you edit a symbol, if you update it somewhere else, it will update everywhere else where that symbol is being used, including nested symbols. One of the rules that you need to understand is that on your menu for the overriding, it would only show you symbols that are the same size. So it's a good thing to learn. And let's see some examples real quick so you can see the value of this. So for example, here I have one symbol. This is a cell. And this cell, I have it here. All these are the same symbol. And you can see they're all have an icon, a text label, and then have another icon on the right. Now that the thing is, let me inspect this. I'm going to go in here. I see my symbol. And then you will see that I put also, let me zoom in so we can see. I put also some other icons that are symbols too, and other icons, some glyphs that are this size, and they're for here for this side. The thing here is that all these are the same size, and all these are the same size. Why is this important? Because over here, when I want to override a symbol inside this symbol, I can override it here on the menu by selecting only the ones that are that size. So here on my override of this symbol, you see that I only see three symbols. That's because those are the only ones that are that size. So I can override it with this, I can override it with this, and then the symbol, the icon on the left, I can override it only with these, because in my symbol library, those are the only ones that are that size. Very important. And the cool thing here is, see, now I can say this is, let's say that this is favorites, and then this override is settings. That's good. But you know what? Actually, I don't want to have any on the right selected. So I'm going to remove that symbol. And then over here, this is going to be, let's say that instead of settings, it's going to be avatar. So this is going to say account. So you can start realizing how cool this is, where probably let's say that there's something going on the account. Sorry, some information on the account. So you can start seeing like when you're building a menu, when you're building something that you're going to be repeating a lot, like cells, you get to use a symbol inside symbol, and then you update it in one place and it updates anywhere else. So let's say, for example, I go in here, and then I don't know why, but let's say that this icon is over here too, and then the label, it moves over here. Let's keep it at 16 pixels. And then if I return to my instance, see how everywhere else where that symbol is being used, it was updated. Another example, for example, a navigation bar, when you are selecting one thing and then another one. So some of the options are not selected and one option is selected. And then when you tap on something else, then that one becomes selected and the other ones are not selected. So over here, I have albums selected, as you see here. But I want to create another bar for probably another example where I want radio to be selected. So I can just really easily just go over here and say this one is selected and then albums is not selected. Or let's say that search is selected. Sorry, search is selected and then radio is not selected, right? And there you go. So you start seeing the power of this is really cool. So you can start building a system with nested symbols that you're going to be reusing across your documents. Okay, that was a quick introduction into nested symbols. Now let's see one example of the buttons, how we did that. Okay, I'm going to open the file that is called buttons simple, so you can open this one. And then you're going to see here, oh my God, so many buttons, right? So many states of this same button. The cool thing here is that there are actually not a lot of states once you see the symbols. So I'm going to double click on any of these. And then you're going to see here, I put some labels there so you can understand what's going on. I have, number one, I have the colors that I'm going to be using across my buttons. And these colors can actually be used across other icons or other elements across your document. And then here I have button sizes. Since the size of the text it's different depending on the button size, at least on this system, I created different button sizes. I created one button size, one button size, one button size. And inside this one, let me zoom in. Inside here, you're going to see that I have my CTA, which is going to be, I'm going to be able to override it. And then I have the state of the symbol. I'm going to explain that. And then icon, and then the color. The color is being pulled from these symbols. And then the state is being pulled from these symbols that are also the states. So over here, I have one symbol that is a state /hover. And this one, all it has is just one square inside that is a full width, and it's a white shape with 20% opacity. That way, when I put it on my button, then I have my primary color in one layer, and then on top of it, I have my state on top of it. And my state will determine that it's the primary color plus 20% opacity white, which makes the primary color 20% lighter. And this is something that actually you would do on CSS on LESS or Sass. You just have one primary color that is being affected by different states. So for example, the pressed state is actually a black color at 20%. So I select this, and you're going to see here, it's black at 20% opacity. That way, on top of that state is going to be my primary color, and then on top of it is going to be 20% black, and now I have a pressed state. And another one is disabled. Disabled is a little bit more, a little bit trickier because I added two things. I added first a layer that does saturation, that is black and saturation. That way, whatever is below it, it will turn it into gray. And also I added another fill that is white at 70%. That way it is not only unsaturated, but also creates like really light, and it just like almost like it's faded away. So I have that, and then I have some icons, some glyphs that are right now there are 24 pixels, the width of them, and they're all going to be overridable on my main button. So I have all my elements here. And then something that is really important when you're creating your symbols here is how you position your elements. So for example, here, I have my text layer. And my text layer, I want it to be resizable. I want it to be floating in place, or you can use resizing. I prefer floating in place. That way, if I make it big or small, if I change the height of it, it will still be in the middle, and the vertical middle of the button. But I also use Auto Layout, my plugin. It's over here, and here on the plugin, on the Auto Layout plugin, I pin it to the left and to the right. That way, it will grow with my button. It won't just be center in the middle, but it will also be resizing. That is one way to do it. Another way to do it will be that here on my resizing options, I set it as resize object, and then here on my Auto Layout, instead of pinning it here, I only center it in the middle. And that way it's combining resizing with floating. So again, it's really cool to combine the native positioning and resizing for objects, and then combine it with the Auto Layout option, which is pretty cool. Then you want your icon. My icon, I have it here. Have it as just as floating place because I don't want it to be resizing. I just want it to always be in the center. So I have it here as floating place. And then I have my color layer, which is calling from this. I have it as a full width, and I want it to stretch just like up and down, just stretch. And also the same for my mask. So here's the thing with the mask. Since I have my states over here and these are just squares, I want my mask, I put a layer all the way to the bottom, and this is just masking my contents. It even is masking my states. And it's just 8 pixels or rounded radius. And then I just put it as a mask. So anything else that is on top of it is getting inside. And that's it. Now let's see how on the example it works. So over here, I have all my different states for the large buttons, the medium buttons, and the small buttons. And all of these are the same symbol. All of these in this row are the same symbol. The same over here. This is the same symbol as these ones. The only thing that is different is that I changed the color over here. So let's preview one. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put a symbol, a button, and I'm going to put a medium button. I put it here, and by default, it will have the icon and the CTA visible, but you can just like hide one of them. You know what? For this one, I'm going to hide the icon. So I go to the icon folder here, and I'm going to say none. That's one of the cool things too. When you don't need to override anything, you can just select none, and it disappears. So I have my button here, and I want to change my CTA, so let's go. There you go. And then I want to change the the state of it. So let's say that I have another state here, and this one is going to be, well, by default, it's already selected state as hover, and I want one that is not hover. So this one, I'm going to say none. So there you go. That's my primary button with no state on it. Then here is on hover. And then over here, I'm going to add another one that has a pressed state. So it's a little bit darker. And then I'm going to add another one. It's the same symbol. I'm just duplicating it. I'm going to add another one, and the state is going to be disabled. And now it turns really light and also grayed out. And I'm going to add another one. I'm going to just duplicate this one over here with 8 pixels. And then this one, I'm going to say, hey, you know what? This one doesn't have a CTA because this is going to be loading. So I just press one space here on the CTA. And then here on the icon, I'm going to select the loading icon. But I can select any of the icons. You know what? When there's a success, or when, I don't know, there's something happy happen, I can select that one, or a warning. And then here on the colors, for example, the warning one, I'm going to duplicate this one here. So probably on the warning one, you actually want to change the color of it. So that's the cool thing about this. If you have the color, you can say, hey, you know what? Instead of primary color, I want to use a warning color. Since that's a symbol too, I can just override it. And there you go. So this one is going to be happy, very happy. And this one is going to be like, there's something wrong going on. So that's it. That's how you use the files that I put there in the resources. But let's actually create ours. Let's create a system really quickly. If you already understood everything, you can stop this video and you can just download the resources to inspect them and then create your own. But if you want to follow me when we create one, stay tuned. Let's do it. Okay, so I created a new document, and here on the new document, I also just imported some icons that I'm going to be using on my buttons. If you want to get the blank document, there's also a link to the blank document that only has the icons, and you can start designing with me if you want to follow up. So here, the first thing that I'm going to do is create colors. I know. Where are we creating buttons, Pablo? I know. I know, but don't worry. We're going to be using these colors across our button, so it makes sense. So I'm going to make these, let's say, a 40 pixel palette, and I'm going to add a blue to it. This is going to be my primary color. Then I'm going to duplicate it, and let's do another color. It's going to be my, I don't know, my secondary color, and my secondary color is going to be probably a little bit lighter. Same blue, just a little bit lighter. And then this other blue is going to be a little bit more bluer, a little bit bluer, if that makes any sense. Okay, I got it. I got my two colors. Let's add another one, and this one is going to be my success color, like a green, when something good happens. So I'm going to go over here to my green. There you go. A nice, really saturated green. It's very happy. And then over here, I'm going to add another one that is like a warning. Something's going wrong. So it's going to be like an orange, like a reddish orange around there. And that's telling me, hey, something's wrong. So I have my colors here, and now I want to create symbols out of these colors. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's gonna make sense later. So I'm going to this shape. I'm going to create a symbol. I'm going to call it color slash, or you could call it palette, whatever you want, slash, and then primary. Since I'm going to be using this, I'm going to just copy color slash it. And I save it, I create a symbol of this. This is going to be secondary. This is going to be success. And this is going to be warning. If I go to my symbols page, I'm going to see all the colors here. I'm going to probably, a good thing to do, a good practice is just like arranging your symbols in a nice way. That way later you can reuse them and see how everything is laid out. So I don't need them here. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to reuse this. This is going to be the background of my color. So I'm going to make it 40 pixels. Let's make it actually 38 pixels. I'm going to add a text layer, and it's going to be button. Just a text layer. I'm going to put it in the center. Let's align it here and there. And then I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. There you go. So now the thing is this: since this is a symbol already, if I wanted to add a corner radius, I will need to add a mask below the symbol. So I'm going to add another rectangle, and this is just going to be my mask that is going to be masking the corner radius on my primary color. So I'm going to add I don't know, what do you think? Let's do 20. Let's do a very rounded button. So there you go. And now I'm going to move it below the color. I'm going to call it mask. Oops. And I'm going to make it a mask. There you go. So now I have all of these three layers. I have my text layer, I have my color, and I have my mask. All I'm needing now is the icons on top of it, right? So, but before we do that, I'm going to just create a symbol out of these three layers. So I select those three layers and I create a symbol, and I'm going to call it button slash, and then this is going to be, what do you want to call it? Medium, because we're going to create different sizes of the same button. So button medium, I press OK. We should be good. And now I'm going to double click and I have my button here, right? Pretty cool. And now I need to start adding states to it. Different states like the hover state, the pressed state, the disabled state. And for that, I'm going to actually create another symbol over here that is just going to be for the states. And this can be a rectangle, whatever size. Whatever size, I'm going to put it here. I'm going to change to the white color, and I'm going to make it 20%. The thing is this: you want your symbols that to be a specific size, the ones that are related. That way you group them. So for example, this one is going to be 22 pixels by 56. It's a really weird size. So I don't think I'm going to be reusing it again. I'm only going to be using this size for my states symbols. So I have my rectangle, and I'm going to create a symbol out of it. And it's going to be called state slash hover. If I zoom out, I'm going to see it here. Now it's here. This is just an instance of the symbol, and this is the actual symbol that I can edit. So I'm going to go over here, I deleted the symbol, and the actual symbol that I have is here. This is the symbol, and I have here my rectangle. the rectangle that I just edited. And now I'm going to actually duplicate this one. And this one, instead of state slash, is going to be called state pressed. And since I duplicated it inside the symbols page, and I duplicated the artboard that was a symbol, then it just created another symbol. So it's not a new instance of the same symbol, it's a different symbol now. So here, this layer, instead of white, I'm going to turn it black. And that way, once it's on top of it, it's going to be a little bit darker, my primary color. So I have my pressed state. I'm going to add another one, and this rectangle, I'm going to call this one, I'm going to call this symbol disabled. And then on this rectangle, I'm going to change it back to white, but instead of 20%, I'm going to make it 70%, really light. It's going to be really light. And then I'm also going to add another fill to the same shape. I'm going to add another fill, and this one is going to be a solid fill. I'm going to, whatever, it can be whatever here, white or black. It just has to be a desaturated color. I'm going to put it black just so we can see it. And then here, I'm going to change the opacity. 100% is okay. But here, the blending mode, instead of normal, I'm going to change it to color. And then I'm going to move it below. That way it's below the actual lighting. Okay, so I have my disabled state, and you're going to see what happens later. So now I'm going to go back to my button symbol. And here in the button symbol, I'm going to insert an instance of this state symbol. So I'm going to go to symbol, state, I have it here, and I'm going to insert the hover state. I just put it here inside the symbol. So now it's nested inside that symbol. That's cool, right? I'm going to just move it to the size of the whole symbol. And since there's a mask below it, that mask is also capturing that state. And as you can see now, this hover is on top of the primary color. So now the 20% opacity white is on top of the primary color, and now I have my hover state there. Right next to it, I'm going to insert an instance of that same symbol. It's over here. This is where I edit it. This is where I preview it. So here, I see that I have now as an override here a state. I can say pressed, I can say disabled, or I can say none. And that way, it's just a button that is there. But if I wanted to change it back to hover, I can just select it, and now it's hover state. How cool is that? And also, I can change the color of it. Instead of primary, let's say that it's a secondary button, or it's a success button, or it's a warning button. I'm going to keep it in primary. You're starting to see how cool this is, right? Awesome. So now, the next thing that I want to add is the icons on top of them. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to turn these layers into symbols. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to select this one first, and I'm going to create a symbol. I'm going to call it glyph/success. Okay, and I'm going to copy this glyph just so I can reuse it again. And this one is going to be called glyph/love. And this one is going to be called glyph/warning. There you go. I'm going to go back to my symbols page and have them over here. So I'm going to select these artboards. I'm going to put them over here. Here are my symbols. I'm going to arrange them just so they're nice and tidy. And the color of these shouldn't be gray. These actually should be white. So I'm going to select these, the actual layers. I'm going to press Command and then just drag, and I select all the layers, and I can change the color of it back to white. And right now I cannot see the shapes. So what I can do is select the artboards, and I can add a background color to it. I can add a great background color to it, so I can preview them. But I wanted not to include it in the export, so I'm disable that. That way, it is only for previewing here, but whenever I use an instance of the symbol, the background will not be there. Okay, cool. So as you can see, that's cool. My symbols are there, but they're all different sizes. So what I need to do is select these artboards and make them all the same size. So I'm going to make them 24 pixels, or no, actually 16 pixels? No. Yeah, 24 by 24. 24 by 24, now I have them all the same size. That way I will be able to override them later. And I want to center them to the artboard. So I select this, center and center, center and center. There you go. Now I have my icons that I'm going to be able to override later, but I still need it to be part of the symbol over here, of the button symbol. So I'm going to insert an instance of it. I'm going to go to glyph, lob. I'm going to put it in the center, right there. Now it's part of the symbol. I'm going to put it all the way to the bottom on top of the primary color. I'm going to center it, And I'm going to change the resizing to float in place. And while I'm at it, I'm actually going to change for everyone else. So this one should be, the text layer should be the size of my symbol, and it should be float in place. And now, so here's the thing. I can say, hey, resize my object, and then here on auto layout, I want it to be floating. So that's a combination. I was telling you why you want to use auto layout and the native resizing options. So now that it's on resize, it will resize with the shape of with the size of the artboard. But also, since I used over here, I put it in the center here on auto layout and in the center here horizontally vertically, it will always be in the center of my button. So that's why we needed to have the auto layout plugin. Okay, we're ready. Let's test it out. We have it here actually, and I can say, hey, you know what? This one, instead of the love icon, I want to be success icon. And then here, I'm going to change the success color and no CTA. I'm going to press just space here on the CTA on the text. And there you go. The same symbol, but you're able to do all these overrides that allow you to create a button framework, a button system with nested symbols. How cool is this stuff? Now, what you can do is create different sizes of the same symbol. So for example, this one, I'm actually going to duplicate it. And over here, the same symbol, but I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So that way I have a big button too. So I'm going to call this button big. And then this one, I'm going to change the size of the artboard to, instead of 38, I'm going to change it to 48. Super big button. See how auto layout automatically put it in the center? It's cool stuff, really cool stuff. I'm going to make it this, my hover state, the size of the artboard. I also want my primary to be the size of the artboard. There you go. And I want my mask to be the size of the artboard too. That's what's keeping everything in the center, right? And then I'm going to put my my glyph, my icon, center in the middle, and there you go. I'm going to make it also a little bit bigger here. Now I have same button. It's the same instances, all the same elements. I just made it a little bit bigger. That way over here, if I want to, going to go over here, and if I want to insert a button, I can insert a button that is big or one that is medium. So I'm going to insert a button that is big. I put it here, and then this one, instead of medium, I want it to be big, so I can change it anytime. Big, oops, sorry, over here, sorry. Here, instead of button medium, I'm going to say button big. And now it changes, but I'm going to right click on it and say, hey, set to original size, and then it changes to the original size of the button. Cool stuff, right? So now you can start building your system where I'm going to select this one. I'm going to remove I'm going to remove the glyph. I'm just going to say none, and then I'm going to create different instances of it. First is none. I'm going to duplicate it many times, and then here I have it state hover, over here state pressed, and here state disabled. And on these ones, I'm going to make it 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is going to be glib. This is all of these. The CTA is nothing. That way I can insert icons. And this one is love. And this one is warning. Cool stuff, right? How cool is this? This one I'm going to change the CTA to hover. That way people can understand what's going on here. This one to pressed, and this one to disabled. And over here, this one I'm going to change the color. Instead of primary, I'm going to change it to success. This one I'm going to keep it like that, and this one I'm going to change it to warning. There's something wrong going on. It's cool stuff, right? Really cool stuff. I really like this. I'm going to duplicate this just so we can see it. And then I can change this to button medium. And then when you change it, it doesn't really give you all the same instances. The only instances that the overrides that it keeps are the text overrides. So all of these, the symbols, I actually don't want it to have an icon. So I can say no icon. And then over here, I can say this no one. And then, oh, before we continue, actually, I want to say set to original size. Now they're a little bit smaller, right? And then this one is hover, it's already good. This one should be pressed. This one should be disabled. and just the same as before, over and over. But once you have it, it's pretty cool, right? So I have my system here. And now the cool thing here, I have my system, but whenever something changes, you know what? Tomorrow, hey, you know what? That primary color should change. It shouldn't be that blue. It should, I don't know. We changed our style guide and now it should be red. You change it in one place, right here you change it, and you go back over here. I'm going to go back to my page, and you see it changed everywhere else where that color was being applied. And here on the states, on the hover state, is still that same primary color that now changed, and but with a different color in the background, but the hover is still the same, where it's 20% a little bit lighter. On the press, it's a little 20% a little bit darker. The disable is still gray, it's the same. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. I hope you see the value on all this. I would love to see your creations too. I have a Facebook group that is called facebook.com/groups sketch together, and you can share with the community the things that you have created. Also, people usually ask questions, and we're all there to help. So you should join our Facebook group. It's pretty cool. We talk about design. We don't just do design talk. We talk about design. We don't do design talk. Very different. That's it. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. Thank you. Love you. See you on the next one.